ओम नमो भगवते दक्षिणामूर्तये मह्यं श्रियं मेधा प्रज्ञां प्रयच्छ स्वाहा। ओम नमो भगवते दक्षिणामूर्तये मह्यं श्रियं मेधा प्रज्ञां प्रयच्छ स्वाहा। ओम ओंकार सिंह सर्वेन्द्राय नमः। ओम ओंकार सिंह सर्वेन्द्राय। ओम ओंकारोद्यान कोकिलाय नमः। ओम ओंकार नीरशुकराजे नमः। ओम ओंकारारण्य कुंजराय नमः। ओम नगराज सुताजानये नमः। ओम नगराज निजालयाय नमः। ओम नवमाणिक्यमालाढ्याय नमः। ओम नवचंद्रशिखामणये नमः। ओम नंदिताशेष मौनीन्द्राय नमः। ओम नंदीशादिमदेशिकाय नमः। ओम मोहानलसुधासाराय नमः। ओम मोहाम्बुजसुधाकराय नमः। ओम मोहांधकारतरणये नमः। ओम मोहोत्पलनभोमनये नमः। ओम भक्तज्ञानाब्धिशीतांशवे नमः। ओम भक्ताज्ञानतृणालयाय नमः। ओम भक्ताम्बोजसहस्रांशवे नमः। ओम भक्तकेकी घनाघनाय नमः। ओम भक्तकैरवराकेन्दवे नमः। ओम भक्तकोकदिवाकराय नमः। ओम गजाननादिसम्पूज्याय नमः। ओम गजचर्मोज्ज्वलाकृतये नमः। ओम गंगाधवल दिव्यांगाय नमः। ओम गंगा पंकिल सज्जटाय नमः। ओम गगनांबर संवीताय नमः। ओम गगनामुक्तमूर्धजाय नमः। ओम वदनाब्जजिताब्जश्रिये नमः। ओम वदनेन्दुस्फुरद्दिशाय नमः। ओम वरदानैकनिपुणाय नमः। ओम वरवीणोज्ज्वलत्कराय नमः। ओम वनवाससमुल्लासाय नमः। ओम वनवीरैकल्लोलुपाय नमः। ओम तेजःभुञ्जगणाकाराय नमः। ओम तेजसामपि भासकाय नमः। ओम विनेयानां तेजःप्रदाय नमः। ओम तेजोमय निजाश्रमाय नमः। ओम दमितानंग संग्रामाय नमः। ओम दरहासजितांगनाय नमः। ओम दयारससुधासिन्धवे नमः। ओम दरिद्रधनसेवदये नमः। ॐ क्षीरेन्दुस्फटिकाकाराय नमः ॐ क्षीरेन्दुमुकुटोज्ज्वलाय नमः ॐ क्षीरोपहाररसिकाय नमः ॐ क्षिप्रैश्वर्यफलप्रदाय नमः ॐ नानाभरणमुग्धाङ्गाय नमः ॐ नारीसम्मोहनाकृतये नमः ॐ नादब्रह्मरसास्वादिने नमः ॐ नागभूषणभूषिताय नमः ॐ मूर्तिनिन्दितकन्दर्पाय नमः ॐ मूर्तामूर्तजगद्वपुषे नमः ॐ मूलाज्ञानतमोभानवे नमः ॐ मूर्तिमत्कल्पपादपाय नमः ॐ तरुणादित्यसङ्काशाय नमः ॐ तन्त्रीवादनतत्पराय नमः ॐ तरुमूलैकनिलयाय नमः ॐ तप्तजाम्बूनदप्रभाय नमः ॐ तत्त्वपुस्तोल्लसत्पाणये नमः ॐ तपनोडुपलोचनाय नमः ॐ यमसंसन्नुतसत्कीर्तये नमः ॐ यमसंयुताय नमः ॐ यतिरूपधराय मौनिने नमः ॐ यतीन्द्रोपास्य विग्रहाय नमः मंदार ॐ मंदारहाररुचिराय नमः ॐ मदनायुतसुन्दराय नमः ॐ मन्दस्मितलसत्वक्त्राय नमः ॐ मधुराधरपल्लवाय नमः ॐ मञ्जीरमञ्जुपादाब्जाय नमः ॐ मणिपट्टोलसत्कटये नमः ॐ हस्ताङ्कुरितचिन्मुद्राय नमः ॐ हठयोगपरोत्तमाय नमः ॐ हंसजप्याक्षमालाढ्याय नमः ॐ हंसेद्वाराध्यपादुकाय नमः ॐ मेरुशृङ्गतटोल्लासाय नमः ॐ मेघश्याममनोहराय नमः ॐ मेधाङ्कुरालवालाग्र्याय नमः ॐ मेधापक्वफलद्रुमाय नमः ॐ धार्मिकान्तर्गुहावासाय नमः ॐ धर्ममार्गप्रवर्तकाय नमः ॐ धामत्रयनिजारामाय नमः ॐ धर्मोत्तरवर्तिने धर्मोत्तममनोरथाय नमः।
ॐ धर्मोत्तममनोरथाय नमः।
ॐ प्रबोधोद्गारदीपश्रिये नमः।
ॐ प्रबोधोद्गारदीपश्रिये नमः।
ॐ प्रकाशितजगत्त्रयाय नमः।
ॐ प्रकाशितजगत्त्रयाय नमः।
ॐ प्रज्ञाचन्द्रशिलाचन्द्राय नमः।
ॐ प्रज्ञाचन्द्रशिलाचन्द्राय नमः।
ॐ प्रज्ञामणिवराकराय नमः।
ॐ प्रज्ञामणिवराकराय नमः।
ॐ ज्ञानान्तरभासात्मने नमः।
ॐ ज्ञानान्तरभासात्मने नमः।
ॐ ज्ञातृज्ञादिविदुरगाय नमः।
ॐ ज्ञातृज्ञानादिविदुरगाय नमः।
ॐ ज्ञानज्ञाद्वैतदिव्यांगाय नमः।
ॐ ज्ञानज्ञानद्वैतदिव्याय नमः।
ॐ ज्ञातृज्ञातिकुलागताय नमः।
ॐ ज्ञातृज्ञातिकुलागताय नमः।
ॐ प्रपन्नपारिजाताग्र्याय नमः।
ॐ प्रपन्नपारिजाताग्र्याय नमः।
ॐ प्रणतार्थ्यप्तिवाडवाय नमः।
ॐ प्रणतार्थ्यप्तिवाडवाय नमः।
ॐ भूतानां प्रमाणभूताय नमः।
ॐ भूतानां प्रमाणभूताय नमः।
ॐ प्रपञ्चहितकारकाय नमः।
ॐ प्रपञ्चहितकारकाय नमः।
ॐ यत्तत्त्वमसि संवेद्याय नमः।
ॐ यत्तत्त्वमसि संवेद्याय नमः।
ॐ यक्षगेयात्मवैभवाय नमः।
ॐ यक्षगेयात्मवैभवाय नमः।
ॐ यज्ञादिदेवतामूर्तये नमः।
ॐ यज्ञादिदेवतामूर्तये नमः।
ॐ यजमानवपुर्धराय नमः।
ॐ यजमानवपुर्धराय नमः।
ॐ छत्राधिपतिविश्वेशाय नमः।
ॐ छत्राधिपतिविश्वेशाय नमः।
ॐ छत्रसामरसेविताय नमः।
ॐ छत्रचामरसेविताय नमः।
ॐ छन्दशास्त्रादिनिपुणाय नमः।
ॐ छन्दशास्त्रादिनिपुणाय नमः।
ॐ छलजात्यादिदूरगाय नमः।
ॐ छलजात्यादिदूरगाय नमः।
ॐ स्वाभाविकसुखैकात्मने नमः।
ॐ स्वाभाविकसुखैकात्मने नमः।
ॐ स्वानुभूतिरसोदधये नमः।
ॐ स्वानुभूतिरसोदधये नमः।
ॐ स्वाराज्यसम्पदध्यक्षाय नमः।
ॐ स्वाराज्यसम्पदध्यक्षाय नमः।
ॐ स्वात्माराममहामतये नमः।
ॐ स्वात्माराममहामतये नमः।
ॐ हाटकाभजटाजूटाय नमः।
ॐ हाटकाभजटाजूटाय नमः।
ॐ हासोदस्तारिमण्डलाय नमः।
ॐ हासोदस्तारिमण्डलाय नमः।
ॐ हालाहलोज्ज्वलत्कलाय नमः।
ॐ हालाहलोज्ज्वलत्कलाय नमः।
ॐ हार्दग्रन्थिविमोचकाय नमः।
ॐ हार्दग्रन्थिविमोचकाय नमः।
ॐ श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तिस्वामिने नमः।
ॐ श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तिस्वामिने नमः।
ॐ श्रीदयानन्दसद्गुरवे नमः।
ॐ श्रीदयानन्दसद्गुरवे नमः।
ॐ श्रीमहेशानन्दसद्गुरवे नमः।
ॐ श्रीमहेशानन्दसद्गुरवे नमः।
So it helps to kind of chant it in groups of 4 with a little bit of a tone on it, because then it reminds you, and it's better for learning by heart, I've understood. So that's good. All right. Om Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Krito Vande Bhagavanto Punah Punaha Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Veda Vibhagine Vyomavatyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Gukarastvandhakaro Vai Rukarastvannivartakaha Andhakara Nirodhitvat Gurudhya Vidhiyate Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So let us chant 5 verses from the Karika, starting with verse number 12. So 12 through 16, and then we'll get started. Number 12, Dayor Dvayor Madhugyane. Dvayor Dvayor Madhugyane
Dvayor Dvayor Madhugyane
Param Brahma Prakashitam
Param Brahma Prakashitam
Pritivyam Udare Chaiva
Prithivya Udare Chaiva
Yatha Kashah Prakashitaha
Akasha Prakashitaha
Jivatmano Ananyatvam
Jiva Manodananyatmayam
Abhedena Prashasyate
Avedena Prashasyate
Nanatvam Nindyate Yaccha
Nanatvam Nindate Yacha
Tadevam Hi Samanjasam
Tadevam Hi Samanjasam
Jivatmano Prithakvam Yat
Jivatmano Prithakyam Yata
Pragutpattehe Prakirtitam
Pragopate Prakirtitam
Bhavishyat Vritya Gaunam Tat
Bhavishyat Vritya Gaunam Tat
Mukhyam Hina Yujyate. Sorry, Mukhyatvam Hina Yujyate.
Mukhyatvam Hina Yujyate
Mritloha Vispulingang Dyaihi Vivapsun Pulingadyai Shrishtirya Choditanyatha Choditanyatha Upayasovataraya Nasti Bhedah Kathanchana Ashramat Ashramas Trividahina Madhyama Utkrishta Drishta Upasanopadishteyam Tadartham Anukampaya. Okay, so I think I'm going to display a couple of shlokas. So, where is? Can you give me the remote from here, or just turn it on? Is it on already? Yeah. You can just, yeah.
Later, update the software.
Oh, is there?
Yeah. This is good. You can remove this plastic.
Yeah.
Now I have to
It
give
wasn't
the
our
signal.
TV, so I just let it be.
It's more than a month.
Okay, so where's the remote has to be put on this bigger one.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, just move it to the left and then press it. There you go. That's it. So if you recall, the context that we are studying is the very important example that we should keep in in front of our lives, which is that this is an amazing shrishti by Ishvara. Just incredible, really, if you think about it. What a beautiful shrishti, because the shrishti means, the creation means, which we are going to talk about today in terms of what you mean by creation. What the creation means is, I mean, just look at the beauty of it. I really admire it, of Ishvara's creation. That there is some interplay between people's lives, interplay between good and bad, interplay between past lives and this life and next life. All those kinds of complicated things are there. But when you really look into it, if you get very serious, none of it is there. So the end is very pleasant. There might be a storyline which is disturbing, just like you are watching a movie, and the movie has some disturbing sequences. And it might bring some tears into your eyes, and you might get really disturbed by it. But when you walk out of the movie finishes, it finishes with a comedy, end of the comedy. The end is a comedic end. It is not a tragic end. And if you just look into that, you find that there is really nothing there. This is the Srishti. So Ishvara can have a Srishti which for the 50 million years, the whole Srishti is not there. Everybody is asleep. So if somebody says, why do we have to have so much trouble? And it's very much like our own day and night. During the day you have so many issues that come up in your life, so many things that you have to deal with, unfinished business, hopes, disappointments, all of those emotional issues and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, without resolving them, you just go to sleep. And you are completely bereft of all those issues and so on and so forth. And they come up again. And this is the cycle that goes on. So there is a Srishti and there is a non-Srishti, even in our own lives. And the difference, of course, is that if there are some, during the next day, you have the same problems that are occurring in your life. And those are not resolved, so you have a feeling that this is going to go on and on. There is another wakening up on beyond that, as you know, we have seen all of that. And when that happens, really, even the problems of the Jagrat Avastha are also gone. And Swapna Avastha is gone, everything is gone. And in fact, there is no Srishti and there is just nothing but joy. This is the creation of Ishvara. I marvel at it, really. In this way, after 50 million years, there is some interplay because you could have a Srishti where nobody ever wakes up and it is all just nothing but Ishvara alone. And that's no fun, because it's like saying, let's not have any games, let's not have any movies, let's not have any relationships. Okay, what do you want to do? Nothing. You don't want to do that. You do actually have some fun in activities in your life and so on. But those fun and activities in your life are not binding to you. This is the whole issue, that for a while it looks like I am involved with it, and then it gets too hot in the kitchen, and you get disturbed by your own issues in your own life and so on. When that happens, you turn to the reality and you find that none of them really bother you, and the end is very beautiful. This is the Srishti. Okay? So this is exemplified by Gaudapadacharya ji in the example of the Mahakasha and Ghatakasha, the total space and the room space. So as a room space, you have a Srishti. You have a lot of things going on with respect to, just like even in our case, do we have enough room for the students? Should we get a bigger room? How much does it cost? All those kinds of things, and especially comes about when you travel. You have a small carry-on, how much can you put? So space has some transactional utility that you have to go through. But really speaking, you do this without changing the very space itself. There is no change in it. So this interplay between Mahakasha and Ghatakasha has been utilized by Gaudapadacharya ji in exemplifying the reality of our lives also. So this is the topic that we are studying. Okay, and there we saw the citing of the two Upanishads, Taittiriya Upanishad on verse number 11, and the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, Madhu Brahmana, in the verse number 12. And so the last class that we did was that in the Brihadaranyaka's Madhu Brahmana, it is shown that the laws governing you as a Ghatakasha, see the jiva is like a Ghatakasha, it is like a room space, because the content of the jiva is the unchanging sentient Sakshi. And the content of the outside, which is Ishvara, if you want to separate yourself from Ishvara for a minute, is also sentient, unchanging Sakshi. Not only that, this is what Madhu Brahmana pointed out. So this is true for the Nirguna Brahma. Nirguna Brahma means that without any upadhis. So what it is saying is that the inside space of a room and the outside space outside the room are both identical. So this is very clear. But very interestingly enough, the Saguna Brahma, the interplay of Saguna Brahma within the jiva and outside the jiva is also exactly the same. Exactly the same. So the same laws that applied in the whole universe are equally applicable to you inside. I mean, this is very obvious, because you are also nothing, you and I are also nothing but part of the whole universe. You cannot say that I am a completely different one from the universe. No. So it's pretty obvious. There's no question about that. But we make it into a big issue. We actually create a separation in our minds that creates problems for us. How? Because if things happen outside, they don't bother. I am not bothered by that. But I am extremely bothered by what happens to me. This is one separation. Another separation is that the laws that govern my body are the same laws that govern all bodies. All bodies will decay. The health of all bodies has to be kept up. So there is, I mentioned this on the Tuesday night class, so let me mention that again in this class. I think some of you were in the same one. Is something that Swami Maheshananji has pointed out, and I really like that. What he said was that your dual body, which is the gross body and the subtle body, is like a title given to you. It's like a chair. You have to sit in the chair. It's very much like, you have these, a chair of a presiding officer. That means that you are appointed. It means you are given some privileges. And you can now command the privileges to make progress and so on. Similarly, the two bodies to us is given by Ishvara as a chair, as a privilege, as a title. For doing what? There is a job to be done. And the job that has to be done is to discover Ishvara in myself. This is the ultimate job that I have to do. And in this context, you are allowed to have some inconsequential fun time. Just like a person sitting in a very serious chair with some lot of responsibility, he can also have some lunches with his people and go around, and so that's okay. But not at the cost of doing the job. The job is the most important one. Other things are necessary for you to have some rest and recreation and so on and so forth. So the job that we have, which we are born with, which takes millions of years, by the way, this has been going on for, you and I have gone through all the stages of being ants and dogs and cats and finally monkeys and apes. Finally we are a human being. This is a great opportunity. And the title and the job we have to do is to discover Ishvara in myself. That means to become totally free. This is what we have to do. And we don't do that. And there is a punishment for not doing the job, which is death and rebirth. You're given an opportunity and you miss it, and now you sort of misused, you've spent too much time in the fun, not enough in the job, and this is what you have to do. So this is the whole purpose of the Srishti. So the Madhuban Brahmana, to going back to the reference that I had, was to point out that even the Saguna Brahman is similar both within you and outside. So that was a reference. I didn't quite get to that point. How? Because how long your life will last? What are the laws? And how are you going to keep up with your bodies while your job is being done? So for instance, you have been given lots of different elements. You've been given blood, you've been given bones, you've been given muscles, and all kinds of elements within the body. Our part of the job is to keep them healthy, to eat for nutritious value. Part of the job. Overeating and just doing sugary things and so on is not part of the job. So, similarly, exercising the muscles is part of the job. And there you have devatas and devis for each element. There is a devi for the muscles. There is a Devi and Devata for blood and for every part of it. And we have to respect it in order for us to fulfill our job, which is meant for me. If not, then there is a problem. And you've lost the opportunity, and God knows what the next life will be. We have no idea. That also the laws will apply according to the Saguna Brahman. So this is pointed out as a revision on the verse number 12 that we did last time. So let's now move on. There's quite a bit to be done today, and perhaps not as thoughtful as the last two, 11 and 12. So we'll go a little bit more quickly. So let's start with verse number 13. Jivatmanoho ananyatvam abhedena prashasyate nanatvam nindyate yaccha tadevam hi samanjasam. So just a background on this. So what is going to happen is that part of the responsibility, this is what is called sampradaya, Adi Shankara's sampradaya, and so on. So the sampradaya means that you have to keep the focus on the main teaching of the Vedas. And if there are challenges to it, including misinterpretation of the Vedas, you have to deal with it in a very meaningful way without losing the focus. People are at various stages. You can be born as anyone, you can question it, you can say, why is the Veda saying it? Or if the Veda is saying something like that doesn't agree with it, you have to question that as well. Or some people who don't even think about the Vedas, because the Vedas is the only way you can discover yourself as Ishvara. There's no one else that does it. What can we do? Not as though we are superior or inferior, we just do not find it. They are all at various stages of understanding, but the final clarity is not there anywhere. So the Vedas have it. And so now this is questioned by various people, that the Vedas saying it or not. So that topic is now taken up in the verse number 13 through 16, which we will very quickly go through. Namely, this is what is called Tatparya Nishchaya. Tatparya Nishchaya means the ascertainment of the real meaning of the Vedas. Nishchaya means ascertainment, and Tatparya means Tasya Param iti Tatparyam, means what is the essence of what the Vedas is saying. What the Vedas are saying is Advaitam. Advaitam. Non-duality. It is the main message that fundamentally you and Ishvara are one in the same. In fact, you are not there. You as a room space is included in the whole definition. Only Ishvara is there, you are not there. But in the meantime, you start with the idea that I am there. But that's not what is really required. That's not what it should be done. You have a goal to reach, which is Advaitam. So the Advaitam is the Tatparya Nishchaya of Vedas. This is taken up here. So let's look at this. Jivatmanoho ananyatvam abhedena prashasyate. So the non-difference between the Jiva and the Atma is praised in the Vedas. It is praised. And the difference is criticized. Nanatvam nindyate tadyat samanjasam evam hi. Therefore, Advaita alone is the real Tatparya of the Vedas. So here, look at this. There is a there is a rational view. Yat prashasyate tad vidhiyate tat nindyate tat nishidhyate. This is the basic premise. What does it say? That means whatever is praised is very obvious in our lives also. Whatever is praised is what should be done. And what is being criticized should be not done. Yat prashasyate tad vidhiyate. Vidhiyate means this is what is prescribed for you to understand, to do. Yat nindyate. One which is criticized, one should stay away from it. This is true in our lives also. When we instruct our children, you'll say, please find some good people as friends. So you should really have your company and avoid bad people. Don't do that. Very obvious. So here, what is said is that the ekatvam is prashasyate. Jivatmanoho ananyatvam abhedena prashasyate. And the nanatvam nindyate. Therefore, it is very clear that the tatparya of the Shruti is samanjasam. Samanjasam means makes sense. It is consistent. There's no inconsistency. Why is such an obvious statement being made here? Because people question. They are confused about the real tatparya of the Vedas. And this will be taken up. So just hold the criticism that why is it even necessary for us to point this out? It should be obvious. What should be obvious? That the real intent of the Vedas is Advaitam, but it is not so obvious. And so we have to actually tackle it by making statements like this, yes, prashasyate, tad vidhiyate, etc., etc. And then we back it up by prashansa. Prashansa here means all kinds of statements within the Vedas and also Bhagavad Gita. So the second one is Vasudevaha is the Bhagavad Gita, but in the Vedas it says Brahmavit Brahma eva bhavati. Means that please strive to know Brahman, which is your own reality. Because if you know it, you will become the Brahman. Brahman means one who is free from all problems. This is what we all want in our lives. We want somewhere where I do not have to be concerned with anything. I am totally independent. Not even death. Not even Yamaraja can touch me. You remember this various story we saw. I don't remember all the names. That there was a young boy who was he was a great devotee of Lord Shiva, and he would be sitting there and doing puja all day long. He neglected his body, he would not eat well, but he was in love with Lord Shiva. And Shiva also really respected him. Anybody who is such a devotee is very dear to Shiva. So he was sitting there. Now what happened was that he had, his body was giving him problems, and to a point where the Saguna Brahman, the body's laws are you cannot neglect it to that point. So therefore you have to now give up the body. So Lord Yama, this is a long story in one of the Puranas. Puranas give all these kinds of stories. So the Yama, what he does is he sends his assistants to catch you. And so the assistants came and said, you have to go. So the kid said, no, I cannot go. He just embraced the Shivalinga and says, Shiva, you just protect me. So the assistants all went back and reported to Yama, that guy is not, you are asked us to do it, and he's not letting us do. So Yama said, that's not good, so let me go myself. He comes up, he tries to pull this guy away from Shiva. And the boy was telling Shiva, please protect me. This guy is just taking me away. And so Shiva made a big danda and beat Yama, and the Yama was almost ready to die. And she says, do not disturb my devotees. Now there is a big problem. If Yama dies, that means all the laws of death are also gone. That means who should die at what time are also gone. So all the devatas, they all praised Shiva and said, please don't do this. You're spoiling the whole order of the whole universe. So Shiva told Yama, do not disturb my devotees from now on. I'll let you go back this time. But never again should you disturb my devotees. Is that clear? So Yama said, okay. He says, you can do anything to anybody else, but not to my devotees. What it means is that we are all seeking this kind of freedom in our life. Deep inside. We may be busy doing things, getting jobs, getting married, helping our children and so on, but deep down below, we want to be free. And that freedom can only come if I understand that my sense of jivatvam is false. That is what needs to be done. There's no reality to it. I just have to wake up. There's nothing to be done, there is something to be understood. Swami Dayanandaji's one of his favorite phrases was, there is nothing to be done, there is something to be known. So therefore what it means is that the tatparya of the Shruti is abheda. And so it says, Brahmavit Brahma eva bhavati. The one, the knower of the Brahman, becomes Brahma. So the devotee of Shiva becomes Shiva. And of course Yama cannot touch Shiva, because it's a different order of reality. Yama is a vyavaharika sat, Shiva is a paramarthika sat. It's like you cannot have a wave disturb the water. The waviness is a different level of reality, and the water is a different level of reality. A wave can disturb another wave, but not the water. So that was then. And the same thing in the Bhagavad Gita, Vasudeva Sarvamiti Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. I think in the 6th chapter, this one comes. It means that such people are very rare. It's a prashansa. It's a prashansa. It's something that has to be praised. Then the opposite of that is the ninda, where it says all kinds of dvaitat vai bhayam bhavati. He says that please understand that as long as you stay limited as a jiva, you'll have problems. And the biggest problem is fear, uncertainty. You cannot trust anyone else. The best person that you can trust is your mom. And she may already be gone by now. She did her job, she gave birth to you, She was the most loving and the trusting person that you could ever imagine, next to Ishvara. But even that is limited. Who are you going to trust? We certainly don't trust our spouses. Children, we start to trust a little bit, but they also are get busy. What are we going to do? And so really the sense of uncertainty and fear stays with us the rest of our life. And in the next life, same thing. It's not as though by dying I can get rid of it. No. So dvaita dvai bhayam bhavati. And same thing, udaram antaram kurute tasya bhayam bhavati. This is Taittiriya Upanishad. We studied this. Udaram means even a slight antaram. Any difference, even the slightest difference. You know, this is what he says, that I am in love. So let's see, this is what happens when you get married first and you have the honeymoon, and especially if you have not the Indian marriage, but you fall in love with a person and you say, I'm in love. And this person is the best thing that can happen to me, and so on. There also you say, as long as the person behaves with me. Even if there is a slight difference, there are problems. Udaram antaram kurute tasya bhayam bhavati. And then the final one, which says, mrityoho sa mrityum apnoti yaha iha nana iva pashyati. This is exactly the example given by Swami Maheshananji, that if your main job is unfinished, you have not been able to utilize this beautiful life in what you should be doing, which is the seeking of Ishvara in your own life, then mrityoho mrityum apnoti. Then you go from one set of problems of this life to another set of problems in the next life. So not a solution. Ninda, this is also ninda. And finally, this is given in Manusmriti. So Manusmriti, along with Bhagavad Gita, is considered to be one of the best, most pertinent smritis to study. So there, Manu says, Kim tenana kritam papam chaurena atmahar apaharana. Beautiful statement. Kim tenana kritam papam. Kim tena kritam papam means, what worst papam is possible for someone who has stolen the property of Ishvara? We all do, we are all capable of being thieves. You can get some things that really don't belong to us and say, no, it's okay, nobody will know. We are all capable of doing that. But out of all possible thieveries, the worst one is to take this property of the jiva which belongs to Ishvara and call it as mine. He says, this is Manu, the father of all human beings, is saying. He says this is it'll take you probably several lives to, if you can possibly do it in this life if you are really sincere and serious, but chances are you may have to take more than one life to pay back the debt. It's like you've been caught, and then you say the only way we can absolve you is to pay, if you pay back the debt. Like, these people like Vijay Mallya and Nirav Modi and all of these people that have stolen billions of rupees from their people. They'll say, okay, all right, if you pay everything back, we may consider freeing you. But you have to pay everything back. So the paying back means to really do karma and upasana to a point and says, I'm very sorry. I didn't mean to do it. It is your property. You are the master of me. And help me make sure that I don't have this misconception for the rest of my life. So this is also ninda. So now we go to verse number 14. Here in the verse 14, it answers those people who say, wait, if non-duality is the tatparyam of the Vedas, then why does Veda talk about duality? We shouldn't even talk about it, but it does. In fact, the entire Karma Kanda, which is 99% of the Vedas, is based on duality. That you go to a Devata, to the local temple, and you say, Ganesha, please save me. Please, I've got a lot of things coming up in my life. My son is getting married, my daughter is getting married, this, that, or the other. Make sure. That means you're not one with the Ganesha. You are taking the Ganesha as to be separate from you. This is duality. And it's not as though the Vedas is not saying it. This, all the Karma Kanda is part of the Vedas. So what about that? That cannot be the main tatparya. The non-duality cannot be the main tatparya of this. So knowing this fact that people think like that, verse number 14 is given, which says, Jivatmanoho prithaktvam yat prag utpattehe prakirtitam bhavishyat vritya gaunam tad mukhyatvam hina yujyate. He says, I know, but here's the situation. He says, tat prithaktatvam, that duality between the jiva and the atma, jivatmanoho, yat prakirtitam, which is being said in the scriptures. Sure, it is being said in the scriptures. We also know it. I'm not a fool. I've also studied the Vedas. It is being said, yes. But this is said before a creation, before the statements of creation is in Gaunam. Gaunam means it is not the main idea, it is a secondary idea. And I'll explain that in a minute. And Bhavishyat Vritya, with regard to the teaching of what is intended to be, it is not proper. It is not yujyate. Why? Because the primary importance of the duality is not intended. Not intended. Here, this kind of a complicated set of things can be simplified by doing this. And by the way, this is an important thing which we have to think about. Not only what other people say, but my own mind says it. And wait a second. The Vedas also says a duality. By the way, this is coming up in the 8th verse that we are going to study on Dakshinamurti Stotram. So that is the next one. That is the very, very topic. It's similar to what we are doing here. So what it says is this. So just look at the simplified version of this. He said that supposing the room space person, there's a person who has some consciousness, and so suppose space has a consciousness, Chidatmana. So that means that the room space is a person. Let's imagine. That person is having a cow. That person is emotional. You know, the utility of this room, they haven't really painted the walls lately, and there's a lot of pollution, and people do not like those kinds of things, all kinds of things. So now I want to be like a big hall. It's like a small wave of the ocean is being said, you know, I want to be a big breaker, big wave. I don't want to be a small one. So he is told that there is really no difference between you and the big one. Now, when he is told this, so when the room space person is having a cow, what happens is you start with the duality. Don't you? Don't you address the room space as a room space first? Hey, I'm talking to you, room space. Don't you see that there is no difference between you and the other one? In this sentence also, the beginning one is a difference between the two of you. Otherwise, no teaching is possible. Because if the room space says, you know, I'm very upset with my situation. I want to be like a big auditorium. And the teacher remains quiet and doesn't say anything. Why? Because he doesn't see the duality. So he doesn't see the duality, and he expects the other person to also not see the duality. There's no teaching possible. So the teaching is possible if in the very beginning you have to say, I understand your feelings. But then you go on, don't you see? But first you have to accept. First you have to accept. I remember this, I don't know why it reminded me of it. But I remember when we were students, and it was so interesting when, you know, this was in the mid 70s when we were students of Swami Dayanandji. First of all, we were also young. And unlike India, where you are part of a society where both births, marriages, and deaths are occurring regularly as part of the society. I remember when I came here, we were so young and we didn't know many other Indians. There were hardly any Indians. There were no deaths. People were not old enough. We were all young. We didn't have any other fathers and mothers and uncles, and nobody was there. So all it was just fun and games. And then when we were students of Swamiji, he of course would be invited to give some on the funerals. I mean, since then I've been invited to talk a lot about funerals, but I got my instructions from Swamiji. And Swamiji said, listen, I want you to know, we were kind of bored with this. When is that going to come? It came very quickly. Came. But he was saying, when you visit these funeral situations, do not talk about, as these pundits do, by the way. These pundits are very interesting. They will start with the second chapter of Gita. Na jayate mriyate va kadachit. Do good, everything will be okay, don't worry about it, it's all right. Swamiji says that is not appropriate. Not appropriate. The family is grieving, and you need to grieve with them. And if later on someone says, I want to understand the philosophical explanation of this, then you would discuss it with them. But at that time, do not pontificate and talk about Gita and so on and so forth. Just grieve with them. What you can say is that, I think it'll be okay because we have had similar situations in our other families also. And you go through a difficult period, but I think your mother and father will be taken care of. But I want you to continue to grieve. This is the way it should be done. So similarly, if the room space is having a cow, you cannot be silent and just say, no, there is no duality. You have to start with the fact to say, yes, I understand your situation. If I were you, I would also feel the same way. Swamiji had made another very interesting statement, I remember. He said, it is funny that in the Vedantic teaching, there is a dialogue happening between a teacher that does not see a problem and a student that does not see a solution. He says, I don't know how this happens. He says, but you have to pretend because you also had a problem at one time and you have to resurrect it because that's what the person is. You have to empathize. Meaning is, this is exactly what this verse is saying. So he says, Gaunam Tat. This is just a secondary. So the feeling of duality that is given in the Vedas, creation, etc., is a provisional duality, not the mukhya duality. In fact, there is a lot of content on creation in the Veda. All the Taittiriya Upanishad, yato va imani bhutani jayante, etc. We studied all that in the Taittiriya Upanishad. So there is a lot of talk, but all of that is not mukhyam, but gaunam. Gaunam means it's kind of like a pretend. Swami Maheshananji gives this example very well. He says, sometimes the teacher has to say, let's say there are 4 things. So when you say, let's say there are 4 things, they're not really 4 things, but you have to pretend that there are 4 things. And that's useful for deriving some mathematical equation or something. That's okay. But it's not the final one. So similarly here also, it says that the Tatparya of the Vedas is really Advaitam. And if Dvaitam is talked about, then it is not primary. So this will come in our Gita class later on today also, that it is very interesting that the Vedas have have 3 main sections, as you know pretty much. One is the Karma Kanda, the second one is the Upasana Kanda. Kanda means sort of like an emphasis or section. And the third one is Jnana Kanda. Right? In the Karma Kanda and Upasana Kanda, the teaching is relied on duality. In fact, this gives rise to so much confusion. For instance, there are people who say that the Vedas are spending so much energy on the Karma and Upasana Kanda, that must be the main Tatparya. They argue it like this. So the answer to that is no. Not really. It is because people are not ready, and you have to get your minds ready for the jnanam, And so therefore you have to spend a lot of time. Jnanam is very short. Like for instance, if you were to articulate how many ways can I go from here to San Francisco? It's infinite. Truly infinite. You can first turn left, then go back, or you can turn right and not go back. You can fly, you can, any number of possibilities. But the knowledge of San Francisco is only one. To the Vedas also it says, no, you cannot go by the quantity. You have to see what the intent is. There's a funny story that Swami Dayananji used to tell, and then Swami Maheshananji pretty much told the same thing in a different way, which is relevant to here. And this is interesting because the seat of learning the scriptures in India was in Varanasi. Kashi was considered to be, from an academic standpoint, the Mahatmas can be anywhere in India, that can be anywhere. But if you have to study this in a very structured manner, then you had to go in the old days to Varanasi, to Kashi, to study. And if you go to Kashi even today, what you will see is that there are schools for Advaita and there's school for Dvaita. And there is logic and there is sutras for duality. All things are there. So it is based on this background that this funny story was given. The story is that one day there was in a village, small village, people are really, they don't go to school, or there's no schools, no colleges or anything. It's just a simple life. Well, one of the guys from the village went to Kashi to study. And he did his masters and he studied logic and this. And he was in a Dvaita school. So he was enrolled in, which is there today, even today. So he was talking about Dvaita. So one day he came back to the village and told everybody, I will now argue with anyone that there is duality between Ishvara and Jiva. And I want to debate it. Anybody wants to challenge me? So they all said, this guy has spent like 15 years in going his master's degree. How are we going to challenge him? This is exactly what happens. I tell you, my advice to you is when you go for when you have a party and so on and so forth, do not discuss Vedanta. Do not discuss Vedanta. You know why you should not discuss Vedanta? I'll tell you why. This is an important thing to see. Because when you really start discussing, the people who disparage Vedanta are cleverer than you are. And you will come back truly discouraged. That I could not even convince this guy. I think there is something wrong with our teacher. He never really instructed me properly. Why? Because if I go to some of these young ones, they are all IIT graduates and they are very smart people. And if you start discussing this, they will out-discuss it with you. No way to do that. So these villagers said, this guy is so well educated. How are we going to discuss with him? So he kept on, he's put some posters and saying, I'm here to discuss Advaita, and any Advaitans here, please come to me. Nobody challenged him. There was one wise man, old man. He says, I'll do it. Everybody was saying, what? You haven't even studied very much. He says, I don't know, just do it. So he was a relatively well-to-do person. And so he had 2 appointments that day where this debate was going to take place. One was he was getting his hair cut. Because in India, as you know, you don't have a shop. Person comes to, nowadays in the bigger cities you have a shop, but you just have someone come in and they put a shawl around you, white sheet around you, and then they cut your hair in your own home. So this was one. And then he had another person who was supposed to cut his logs and deliver the logs to him and so on. So he was in this debate, and this person to come that was going to cut his hair, and he told him, Bhagwan, please forgive me. I had another meeting that came up, and I know I called you yesterday, but please forgive me. So he says, that's okay, but do not call me Bhagwan. Do not call me Bhagwan. Why are you calling me Bhagwan? Because I'm just a lowly person and Bhagwan is somebody else. Then this guy who was going to deliver the wood also came and he says, I'm sorry, I can't talk to you, Bhagwan. Please. He says, don't call me Bhagwan. And so this other guy was one who came back from the Kashi was also there. He says, look, you don't need to go to Kashi to discover that Bhagwan is separate from you. Even the hair cutting guy who doesn't do anything, he also knows it. And the guy who was delivering the wood to me also knows it. Why do you have to go to Kashi to figure it out? So he was defeated. So really speaking, when we take birth, this is what is called Anadi Maya. The duality is where we start with. You don't have to be taught. You cannot say, you're different from people. What do you mean I'm different from people? I know that. So this is what is was being discussed in number 15. So he says, Mrit Loha Vispulinga Vispulingadhyaihi Shrishti ya chodita anyatha upayah saha avataraya nasti bheda kathanchana. So he says that the Vedas talks about creation in many different ways, and through the examples of clay, through the example of gold, with the example of the sparks of a fire, and all of that is meant for the understanding of non-duality. There is really no fundamental duality. And so this, what it means is, the appearance of duality is there. So these are the examples given in all of them. So here in the case of clay, that there are different parts but made out of the same clay. Same thing with ornaments of gold. And in the case of the sparks from a fire, so there is an appearance of duality. But when you look into that, you find that there is no duality. And so there, as you know, then I was thinking, let's do this. Let's do a 5 or 10 minute meditation. Okay, just to underscore this point. I won't do number 16, we won't have time to do that. But let's end this with a small meditation. प्रातस्मरामि हृदि संस्फुरदात्मतत्त्वं सच्चित्सुखं परमहंसगतिं तुरीयं यत्स्वप्नजागरसुषुप्तमवैति नित्यं तद्ब्रह्मनिष्कलमहं न च भूतसङ्गः। Upon meditation, I see the following fact. My sense of duality is there as long as the reference point is my body-mind complex. If I refer in my thinking as the two bodies as my nature, I am, if my reference is the sthula and sukshma shariras, if that is my reference point, then upon meditation I can see a sense of duality. It is obvious that someone else has a different set of bodies than mine. So the duality is reasonable, rational. But if the reference point is I, the Chaitanya Swarupam, Sakshi, then the sense of duality is questionable. I meditate upon the fact that non-duality means there is nothing other than me. this fact is true if my reference point is myself as the constant, effulgent Sakshi, the Atma. If my mind asks the question, how, the teaching that I meditate on provides the answer. The answer is that I, the effulgent conscious entity, Sakshi, is the nature of existence. It is the very swarupa of existence, isness, satyam. It is not satyam as a quality, like a table has a quality of being there. So the satyam of a table is a quality. But my satyam is not my satyam. I am the satyam. It is not a quality, it is the very nature. Let me just be clear about that in my meditation. I am. I am. You cannot even remove your existence even if you tried, because that is your nature. You are the very definition of existence. That being the case, I find that existence, I, the existence, is associated with all kinds of forms. My body exists. It enjoys my existence. The table also enjoys my existence. The table can disappear, but my existence does not disappear. all forms, both within my dual bodies, outside my dual body, they all are endowed with my existence. Their form, their functionality, their existence, their utility, everything is endowed with my existence, with I as the existence. Satyam. There is only one Satyam, existence. Which is I, which is nothing but Brahman, the very content of Ishvara. So with reference to I, everything else is endowed with my I. And so therefore there is nothing separate from me. This is the non-duality. This is the truth, and this is what I have to meditate upon. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Swasti Prajabhya Paripalayantam Nyayena Margena Mahi Mahisha Go Brahmanebhya Shubhamastu Nityam Loka Samastha Sukhino Bhavantu Kale Varshatu Parjanyah Prithvi Sasya Shalini Yeshoyam Shobharahitaha Brahmana Santu Nirbhayaha Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramayaha Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukha Bhag Bhavet Asato Ma Satkamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityo Ma Amritam Gamaya Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Yeah, Raj.
The Vedanta's two-step approach of Adhyaropa and Apavada, I like that approach as we're distinguishing the three steps. Basically,
Yeah.
right? The bodies in the duality,
Correct.
all the bodies, and then get to the next step.
Yes.
Of Nityatvam and
Adhyaropa apavadabhyam nishprapancham prapanchate.
yeah.
So the prapanchanam of the nishprapancham is the starting with the duality.
Exactly.
So that has to be prapanchate. Yes, just like that example of if a room space is having cow, and as Swamiji says, that if the teacher doesn't see a problem, you have to emulate the problem and then solve it. You cannot criticize and say, why are you so upset? There's no problem. Hey, I'm upset because I see a problem. So until you can empathize that the problem is there, so this is the prapanchanam. Nishprapancham prapanchate. Prapanchate means that you have to empathize. There is some duality. And you have to pretend there is duality for a while, and then remove it altogether. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
A quick question about Manusmriti. I'm not familiar with that. And and you said that Manusmriti is at a Vyavaharik level and Vedanta is as a
No.
I'm
Smriti
confused
is
about
also Smriti is also just like Bhagavad Gita. Smriti is also restates the Shruti. So all Smritis, and there are very few. I mean, even any commentary by any person can be seen to be a Smriti. Like any bhashya, or even tika, and so on. But the word Smriti is given to a few texts that are highly regarded in terms of being true to Vedas, and the Manusmriti is one of those. Yeah, we don't study it. I have never studied it. I see references to it. That the main Smriti that we should study is the Bhagavad Gita. All right. I have a few checks to write for those of you, so please just come. Do you happen to have the sums? I forgot to bring that with me.
I have your email.
Okay, good. Yeah. So give it to me.
Kalpana's was, you received the last email, right?
Yeah.
So, but she's not here.
No, I won't do that. So I'll just meet yours first.
If you want, okay.
I sent it to Madhu already.
Okay. Okay. Mine was 173.75. Madhu, you already sent.
Yes.
And if you want to write, I can give it to Kalpana tomorrow.
Okay. Yeah, I'll do that.
That way it's done and you don't have to remember hers. Hers was 58.
Yeah. 6.
And Raj is here, so.
Yeah. Okay, this is yours.
Okay.
I thought what we would do is do it this way so that we have a clean record.
Clean record,
you know.
that's fine.
So,
Very expensive too.
But now, what do you call it as rich? That's another question.
Right now.
I'm so happy that this comment has come on the morning.
what is Rajesh? Do you have that?
Raj is 281. Raj, yours was 281, right? Okay.
281, and then how many?
No sense. Just said 281.
It seems like a fairly straightforward software.
Anything else?
So Vijayji, we still have our meeting at 11:30 today.
Yes,
Did anybody
Yes.
respond?
So we'll come back
okay,
after.
okay,
Did
please.
they respond or anything? Did anybody respond?
One person from his class, so I don't know how many people are there.
Yeah.
Does it make sense or not? But we just show up,
I think so.
whoever comes
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
And then if they are not interested or something like that, or we just guide them to do it, that's all.
All these things are available on Amazon too now.
Yeah, but
Okay. So there's
The
multiple.
home study class,
Yeah.
it's available on
Also, PDFs are available. Well, not PDF per se, but Kindle.
Kindle, okay, all right.
Yeah, you can buy the books too, but even the Kindle ones. With the Kindle, you can mark it, by the way.
Yes, you can, yeah.
There is a method to
In
convert.
iBooks, in iBooks.
iBook
There's
also
an
does
iBook
this.
version
In
also.
iBooks, you can do that.
Yeah.
Kindle, you can do it? Oh, Kindle also you can do it.
We do it in iBooks.
Yeah.
All those people are Apple people.
You can get an iBook version downloaded from Amazon. But there is a way to convert. the
There is
Kindle,
a way to, but
yeah.
I don't think
Yeah.
if it is available.
Raj, your check. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, guys,
Have a good trip. Thank you.
yeah, thank you.
So we'll be back at 11:30.
Okay, thank you.
You know, whenever I have to go, I am
But this
Once I'm there,
Mundaka
So many
Upanishad,
followers,
say,
you know, nobody can
Mundaka Upanishad talks about Jiva Ishvara very straightforwardly, right? And then this Prashna Upanishad, as a follow-up, addresses these very same questions. Who is the creator? What is the
Mandukya
relationship?
Upanishad is not taken as the first Upanishad as you mentioned, that's not true.
Well, that's